Okay.
I'd like to get on to our guest. Our guest this meeting is Jaime Howard, a professor at the Savannah College of Art and Design. She teaches drawing, painting, design, visual journal, travel sketchbook. Right, she's right with us, you know. Also, she does workshops in the U.S. and in Europe. So whenever that is able to happen again, we better look for those. So, Jaime, take it away.
Okay, well, I know we'd all rather be somewhere else besides in our house. I'd like to be in Italy right now, so we're going to go there today, do our sketches. I'm curious to see if everybody got the photo that we're going to be working with before I start anything. Is everybody able to get this photo? Let me see if I can find one.
No, I don't have it. I should grab my iPad.
You going to be displaying it, or do we have to bring it up on something here?
Well, I have it on my iPad because I'm going to be looking at it.
Now, let me go get my
I
iPad.
think it was included in the email.
Yeah, I just have it on my little phone. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, I can get it on my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see tiny, which is why I opened it on my iPad. So I've already, this is a photograph that was taken in Italy, so I'm going to pretend I'm back there today.
Okay.
So is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to just watch? You know, I learned a lot about drawing and painting just from watching people. And I know Patrick was in class with me when Paul Ladnier was our painting professor. We did a lot of watching. I learned so much from watching him paint, and he told me to listen to the paint and how he put it on and the noise that it made was very informative to me. So it was really cool. It's really cool just to watch people. I've been teaching art for a long time, and I've got an MFA in painting from Savannah College of Art and Design. And I did move up there probably 5 years ago to join the faculty. And now I'm back in Jacksonville. I'm still teaching for them. I teach online now. And in the summers, I still go up and teach. I love to teach in the summers because I get the high school kids that are there for a lark, and they're a lot of fun. And I also get the art teachers. The high school art teachers come to have a relaxing week creating art, which they don't really get to do when you're a teacher and you're just teaching all the time. You don't really get to be an artist. So I teach them how to keep a sketchbook every day so that they can at least be an artist for a little piece of each day. Because if you're teaching art and you're not doing art, it's really hard to stay with what your students are doing and stay current with what they're having to confront every day as far as looking at things and putting them down on paper. If you're doing it yourself, it's much easier to relate to your students. And I myself, I love to teach drawing. I think I've gotten every job that I've ever wanted by saying to my interviewer, I can teach anyone to draw. So some of the students have tried me on that, and sometimes I think I was wrong. But I'm so passionate about drawing and sketching and painting, particularly on location. I'm so passionate about it that I hope it's catching to my students. And it's real exciting to me whenever my students start carrying their sketchbooks around with them. Now, when I teach at SCAD, I make sure that keeping a daily sketchbook is a big part of their grade. It's 25% of their grade. They have to draw every day, not just in class, because if you only draw in class, you don't learn much. But if you draw every day, you can learn a lot. So I make sure I check their sketchbooks every day. I make them get a little sketchbook like this and date it. Every single day they have to date it, and they have to write down how much time they spent on that drawing. They have to, and they draw the most mundane things sometimes. Because they go, there's nothing to draw. I'm like, what do you mean there's nothing to draw? You're in Savannah, Georgia, the most beautiful city around, and you're going to draw a water bottle? That's why I get a lot of water bottles. But the students who do the best actually draw the most. And so I always advocate that. And even though we're not going anywhere, and I've been pretty much, and I'm sure you have been pretty much cooped up for almost a year now, right? I still keep a sketchbook nearby, even if it's just to draw a picture of my cats that are napping. They're always there napping, or a plant in my house, or a cute little salt and pepper shaker. I still do that every day because it's just part of what keeps me sane and calm. You know, I really find that when I draw, I'm much calmer. I can handle stress a lot better. Sometimes my husband says to me, "Don't you need to go draw something?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're right, I do." So anyway, I feel like I'm a drawing evangelist. I want people to put their phone down and pick up their sketchbook. Well, you see people everywhere. All they're doing is looking at their hand. They're just looking at their hand. It doesn't matter where they are. They could be on the edge of the Grand Canyon and they're checking their email or something. You know, it's just crazy. So I encourage people just to take a sketchbook with them wherever they go, and whenever they get the urge to pick up the phone, pick up the sketch pad and a pen or a pencil instead, and just draw whatever's on the table in front of you. Draw your feet, draw your hand, draw your neighbor, draw a dog, draw anything. And in that way, you become more engaged visually with the world. And I think there's a difference between looking and actually seeing things, right? People usually just navigate through the world. They're not really seeing anything. They're just seeing what they have to walk around. They're just like, well, I can't go there, so I have to walk around that. But they haven't really looked at that object. You sit down and look at any object is really fascinating, no matter how boring it is, even a water bottle. You know, you've got lots of practice here with the ellipses and how shapes fit together. This really is a good practice, even if it's a boring object. It's fascinating to draw something like this. So I feel like the drawing evangelist. I just want to encourage all of you, and I know I'm preaching to the choir because you're a bunch of artists, but I just want to encourage you even more. And I'm encouraging myself as well because, you know, we've all kind of gotten into a slump. I know I have, but I've gotten myself reinvigorated just by picking up new materials. I pick up a new sketchbook or a new wave drawing, a new pen or a new pencil will do it for me, you know. And lately I've been trying to learn how to use Procreate. That's a whole different ballgame. But that kind of got me jump started again. So whatever it is that gets you going, you know what it is. Just draw a lot. I know all of you do, but that's my little spiel that I always give the freshmen. You got to draw. So let's see. What am I talking about here? I would like to show you maybe some of the sketchbooks that I use, the types of sketchbooks that I use. This sketchbook right here was my favorite for a long time. This is called a handbook, and it's got multimedia pages in it. So instead of just having a plain book, I always personalize them. This has got some camping images in it, so I put a van on there. I've got a whole bookshelf full of these, so I know if I put it on the spine where what year that was done. So the handbook, you can stick stickers in it from places you've been, candy wrappers, whatever. It's also got a pocket in the back where you can collect things, ticket stubs or whatever. So usually I start off my sketchbook. Usually the scariest thing in a sketchbook is the first page, right? Oh my gosh, it's a brand new sketchbook. What am I going to do? I might mess it up. So I try to find an inspiring quote to get myself going with drawing. So I found one from Tintoretto. You can never do too much drawing. So I thought that was a good thing to start a sketchbook with. And then just move yourself into your sketchbook. You can put your name in it, your phone number. And in the back, I usually use it for testing. This is gouache I was using, testing the whole by mixing colors. There's a different kind of gouache here. So I use my sketchbook. Before I ever start drawing in it, I kind of move into it. So that makes you feel more at home with it, and like you can start now. Okay, so I used that for a long time. What I'm using now, let's see if I can find it. I'm using the Moleskin sketchbooks now because I use a lot of ink, and ink goes really nicely on these nice smooth pages. So the Moleskin sketchbooks, all the good sketchbooks, of course, are not cheap. But this is the one I've been using lately, the Moleskin. They say the paper quality has gone down. I didn't notice it, so I want to show you one that one of my students gave me. What did I do with it? Oh, here it is. This is called a sketch wallet, and this is the most convenient sketchbook I've ever had because it's a wallet. So you can put money in here, and you can put your cards here. It's got a place. It comes with 2 little pencils. And then it has the most fascinating little tiny sketchbook in it. So this can go right in your purse. And this paper in here is really nice paper. It takes ink and pencil. It's so smooth and slick. It's fun to draw on. So I take this with me when I go to church or when I go to the doctor's office. There's my husband. He's been drawn many times over the years. This is a visiting pastor that we had. There's just people in here, places. You just whip it out, and look how tiny it is, and it's great. You've got everything that you need right here. Another kind of sketchbook that I really like are the unusual sizes. So this one, you can't even see the whole thing. Oops, my camera just went down. Okay, so this is a long one. It's 6 by 18 inches. So this is great for long landscapes. This is watercolor landscapes in here. So just, change it up every once in a while and get yourself excited by just buying something new. Shopping's always fun.
What series is that, Strathmore?
This is Strathmore, yes. Watercolor.
There's usually a series.
400 series. This
400.
400 series. I've got another one that's even bigger. You couldn't possibly see it all, but it's a Strathmore too. It's the same configuration of long and skinny, which I think is lots and lots of fun. Sometimes what did I do with all of it? Before you guys got here, I was all organized. And now I'm not. Okay, so another paper that I really love to use is Stonehenge. This comes in squares. Let's see if I can put it underneath the camera. So this is Watercolor and Ink, which is what I do most of, is ink and watercolor on location. So this one was done in Rome. I have a whole series of trees here because I wanted to be a landscape painter. And I realized that unless I moved to the desert, I would have to learn to draw and paint trees. So I studied trees for a long time. And so I just did a whole series of how do trees fit together? How are they constructed? So I like to use squares. I don't know. I just think squares are nice and sturdy. So I did a bunch of different kinds of trees with ink and watercolor. And this is a really great paper. If you've never heard of Stonehenge or used it, it's S-T-O-N-E, Henge, H-E-N-G-E. It's a really nice paper. And I usually buy it in squares. So there's the Cumber Oak we all know and love. This is just a pencil sketch. Can you guys see this? Yes? Okay.
Yes, I could see it really well.
Okay, good.
They're beautiful, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yeah, Jamie, those are awesome. Those are extraordinary studies. Really nice.
I really learned a lot about trees just by looking at them. And some of you know Herschel Stallard, right? Herschel taught me how to paint palm trees. He took me outside and showed me how a palm tree was constructed. And so that really helped me because palm trees are weird. This is a park in Rome. I don't know where this one was. This is the Cumber Museum, that big oak tree that's there. I'm trying to put this where you guys can see it. Yeah. And this is Malibu Beach in California. So these are just loose watercolors. It's easier, of course, to take a sketchbook. I have a PowerPoint that shows a bunch of my work. I don't know how much time we have to look at it. Or do you guys just want to start drawing and painting? Should we take a vote or should I show you some images?
I'd love to see your images. I think we have plenty of time. You've only been talking 15 minutes.
Okay,
Agree.
let's see.
More
Oh.
Jamie.
Yes,
More Jamie.
more Jamie?
More Jamie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're doing great, Jamie. Keep
Oh,
going.
okay, great. So I'm gonna make sure that you guys can see the PowerPoint. Hannah's gonna have to help me with that one, I think.
Yes, you,
We did it on the
Oh,
10th
yes,
run.
you open your PowerPoint and then you share the screen with the green button. That is. Once you
Oh,
have,
okay, I forgot that button.
yes, and
It's open.
I have to allow you to wait to share multiple participants.
Okay,
Correct. It's ready. Now you can share.
okay. So now I can share and it goes here. Share that one. Okay,
Yes.
can you guys see something that looks like a PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, and then you
Maybe?
maximize. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yay, it worked. Okay, so I just put this together another couple days ago, actually. And it's kind of in sections, and I can talk about if you want to ask me about a certain image or how it was done, we can talk about that. I've already showed you this image. That is how I move into my sketchbook. I try to inspire myself. Well, let's see if I have another one. These are the back pages. Use the back pages to test your medium. Sometimes I buy a new pen, test it out before I draw with it, or use a new watercolor set. This is just a bunch of my sketchbooks on the table. When I'm at SCAD, they have a day where they invite me to come and bring all my sketchbooks. So I just have a whole pile of sketchbooks on a table, and the students will come and look through them. And they just always ask me to do this because the students get excited and they see what's possible in a sketchbook. So one of the days when I was sitting there letting people look through my books, I just happened to draw them. So that's what this is. They're laying there on the table. So this is, it looks like colored pencil and ink. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I've got a lot of stuff from Savannah because Savannah is a beautiful place to be. And I do a lot of pencil sketching, but pencil sketching doesn't translate well to slides. So I'm basically showing you ink and watercolor tonight. So this is just a big tree root that's near my house where I was living. And it took a surprising amount of time to actually draw this. Probably an hour. It's fascinating, so much stuff. This is Forsyth Park, which is a park in the middle of
Why are you doing that?
Okay, did we lose Jamie?
Yeah, I did. I lost everything.
Yes. Okay, she's like,
Here she comes.
yes,
Am I back okay? All right,
Yes,
I don't know what happened. Oh, this is one of the pencil sketches that actually showed up well on a slide. So this is at the end of Forsyth Park in Savannah. So we got this monument and this guy looking at it like, And I like to put in where I was, what the date was, a little bit of this kind of thing where it's like the street signs, the lights, just to give it some scale. What I love about sketching outside is that you remember where you were. You remember the day, you remember the smells and the sounds that you were experiencing when you were there. This is just whenever I would come home from class and park on the street before I went in the house or just grab the sketchbook. And so this was whenever they had the latest governor's race in Savannah, in Georgia. Okay. Keep losing my arrows. This is water-soluble ink. I was in a phase where I was trying out fountain pens, and so I would buy new ones. And this is water soluble, so I used a little bit of water to smear some of this, make it painterly. So this is more like a test than anything else. I don't use those much. This is a place where kids line up to get lunch in Savannah. Just a little pencil. Oh, this is a micron sketch. I was just sitting in the car right next to this place and sketching these people. This is a house front. Actually, this is a house I was living in at the time, 522. And this is from the library. The SCAD library has a bunch of really interesting artwork. So I kind of just stole that image from a painting on the wall in the library. This is one of the squares in Savannah. Not a great painting, but it reminds me of a really nice day. And it kind of has a nice feel to it. Whitfield Square is right near where I was staying. This is another way that I like to put a bunch of images together and not have to make it all very literal, because this park, Forsyth Park, is a place, it's really long, it's about a half a mile long. It's got a big fountain, it's got some statues and lots of green places. People come and play the guitar. There's azaleas blooming, and when I teach drawing in Savannah, I always take my students to this park to draw. This is their last project. It's called the Plein Air Project, and they have to come out with me and draw for a couple of weeks every day. And so I usually get to draw too, which is fun. And so instead of just drawing what's in front of me, I just take little pieces. And I just decided to give them a little frame and call them postcards. So this guy right here, Willie James, he plays the guitar almost every day in Savannah. The dogwoods were blooming, the azaleas were blooming. This is just a typical light post, and this is part of the fountain. And so then I just gave it this title, Postcards from the Park. And it kind of tied it all together. It gave you a feeling you were in a park, but you didn't have to do exactly what was in front of you, because that was kind of fun. It was like a cartoon. I also love to draw my students. They always concentrate so hard on what they're doing, they don't even notice I'm drawing them. So these are three of my students. I guess that's just pencil. I was just scribbling on something while they were drawing. I hate not to draw when they're drawing. It just drives me crazy. Here's another one that I did. This is just I just grabbed a micron pen and started drawing without, I call it drawing without a net, whenever you don't have a pencil. You just start going and see what you come up with. So a bunch of my students are in this drawing. And easels, and this is just inside the classroom. Oh, now we're going to Italy. This is where we would all rather be. This was from a hotel room in Sicily. Just watercolor and little ink scribbles. I love this little drawing. There's a little smart car whenever they weren't so popular. Probably the first smart car I ever saw. And
Over there, they call them, we saw those in France, and I wanted one so bad. They call them belly buttons.
belly buttons.
Here,
Okay.
one of them,
Never heard that.
get one of these. He goes, oh, a little belly button. That's what they call them.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, this was when I went out with our urban sketchers in Rome. And that was a lot of fun. We went to this little courtyard, and this sketch probably took 2 hours. And it's just not very big, and it's inside. I probably could have done an entire painting in the same time. But it was so much fun to be with them. We met for coffee. We walked around Rome, and then we went into this courtyard, and everybody went, yes, this is where we should be. I don't know how many of you know Kelly Medford. She's an American that's lived in Rome for probably 12 years. I met her when she's actually from Florida. She came here for a plein air event, and she stayed at my house. So every time I go to Italy now, I go and visit Kelly. So she invited me out on this outing with urban sketchers in Rome, and it was probably 2013 that I did this, that we were there sketching with her. Yeah, this is from a coffee shop, sitting in front of a coffee shop, and you can see up here it says coffee time, backwards because I'm underneath the awning. In Trastevere, it's a place called Coffee Time in English. I don't know why. And I was in Rome, sitting on the Spanish steps, and this is what was in front of me, this crazy building. This is just a micron pen, which I tend to draw with a lot. Then I took my granddaughter to Italy, it looks like about 2 years ago now. And we had the whole day in Florence. And I did this afterwards from some photographs. So this is her, right? Cute little girl right here with the braids. So I just took pieces of the day and put them in this montage to remind me of the day that we spent in Italy. I mean, in Florence. Okay, the last time I went, I used, this was the first day I got to Italy, and we were staying in a winery in Umbria. And I just laid on the bed and looked at the window, and I went, well, that would be a nice painting. So I did this one laying on my back on the bed after a long, long day of travel. But using a window is often a nice device. You know, I didn't just paint what was outside the window, but the window itself was really interesting. It was really heavy and it had like 4 different sets of shutters on it. And then what was outside was, of course, beautiful too. So you can use these kind of things to just frame your work sometimes. Of course, this means the window in Italian. This was a view from my bedroom. This is an old pizza, the roof of an old pizza oven that was still in operation. This is a fig tree. This is an olive tree. No, that's not an olive tree. That's a cherry tree, and this is olive trees from the same vineyard. That was a lot of fun. I like to put in these little details, like in these cracks, and put in textures and stuff like that. This is just a montage of scooters, which I thought were fascinating because they were so complicated to get these shapes. On the street, I don't even remember what city we were in. Just a cityscape. I was sitting waiting for friends to go shopping or something and decided to draw. This one was interesting. I was sitting in a restaurant and it was night, so there was overhead light. And I had my sketchbook open and I looked down and there were all these reflections of the glasses that were on the table. So I just took my pen and outlined them and colored them in to make them look like reflections. So I thought that was a lot of fun. And I put my glasses in there too, just for something different to look at. This was from a ferry on Lake Como. It's not finished, as you can see. This has watercolor, ink, and collage. So these pieces that go across that look like dots, that look like waves, that came from a sack. I bought a postcard and I just tore it up and pasted it down to look like water. This thing over here in the right-hand upper portion is the ticket that I used to get on the ferry. And this is actually a spread. So then I opened it up, I pasted it down, opened it up, and put the legend of the day. This is what we did today from the ferry on Lake Como. And they're swans, and you know, this one needs to be finished, but I don't ever seem to go back and finish things. This was a really interesting kind of a challenge here. Everything looks wonky because I was drawing from a train and we were going really fast past all of these places. We were going from this little town in Umbria, we were on the train to Florence or back again, one or the other. So I was trying to draw things really quickly and even from memory because they passed by so fast. So I was putting in the different city names here. And then when I got back home, I taped down the part of the ticket that told where we were going and where we're going to and from. So that kind of became sort of a collage. This is just a paper bag, scrap of a paper bag that I stuck in my sketchbook. This is a rubbing. So there's all kinds of stuff in my sketchbook. You guys still with me? I can't see you.
We're still here.
Okay, good. This is ink, colored pencil, and gel pen. I had to use a gel pen to make this moon. We were sitting in a courtyard at night, and we were having dinner, and this was kind of the wall next to us. It was kind of fascinating and fun to draw. It's another restaurant. This one I toned the paper first before I drew it, and I think I used acrylic to tone the paper, and I thought it made a really interesting background for this little restaurant. So basically, this is just that acrylic background with a micron pen and gel pen. The white is a gel pen. I don't think there's much of anything else on there. Maybe a little watercolor. This is another like a landscape from a restaurant. And I did the same thing with this page. I put down some blue acrylic, and then I just, I didn't have much with me. I just had a blue pencil and a gel pen. So I used those things to draw what was on the table. This was cropped weird, but this was a waitress. And that's watercolor, gel pen, colored pencils, basically. This was waiting for a bus. We sat in a little restaurant waiting for a bus, and it was the most beautiful place. I never wanted to leave. So this was outside of Rome. It's a view from Monte Castello, which is a little hill town, a medieval hill town. Now we just moved out of Italy, back home. I put this one in because this really means a lot to me. We moved from Jacksonville to Savannah. And when we did, we sold a big house and all the things that were in it. And these are some of the things that we left behind whenever we moved. So not only was there our house and our cat and a lot of friends, but our daughter and all this stuff that you don't really need, all your extra stuff. I sold so many easels, artworks, all kinds of stuff. So this one means a lot to me. And when I look at it, I remember how hard it was to have an estate sale and watch all your stuff walk out the door, basically. Okay, here we go. We're in parking lots now. You go from the sublime in Italy to the very mundane. You can pick up your sketchbook anywhere you are, including waiting for your husband to be in a doctor's meeting, which is what this is. I'm just sitting there waiting and drawing what's in front of me. Waiting for a friend here. This is what was across the street. I love to draw cars and trucks. I really love to draw them. I don't know why. They're just challenging. This is just scrap paper. You can see right through it. But this is what I had when I was in this particular parking lot. And you can tell where I was because you can see moss here. I was in Savannah. This was drawn whenever my husband was driving, and I was just drawing cars and trucks as they passed us. So that was fun. This one's called Road Trip. But my favorite truck that I saw that day was this one. I love this little truck so much. I thought I should immortalize it. There's some more cars and trucks. This is at a campsite. We did a lot of camping. So now we're camping. This was our smallest trailer. And this was kind of a copy that I did of an old postcard, like a vintage postcard, but I put our trailer in it. And I actually did this in my sketchbook, took it to Staples or one of those places and had it reproduced several times on cardstock, and I used them for postcards and sent them home to friends. So people got these as postcards. This is one of our campsites in Austin, Texas. So that's a 2-page spread. This is Hunting Island, South Carolina, where you can camp on the beach. And you see this is a little piece of paper from one of their little, I don't know, advertisements. I just used some glue and stuck it down there. That's the other half of the page. This is a view from the campground. More, this is someone else's trailer, not mine. Some other things we saw on the trip. This isn't finished because I was waiting for lunch, basically, and just scribbled while I was waiting, and then it was done. So this was another time when I wasn't driving. When you're riding in a truck or a car, and if you see something from really far away, you actually have time to draw it. If it's something close, it'll go by real fast, and you have to draw what you remember about it. But this one, I picked it because it was far away, and I could draw it for a while. This is Capitol Reef State Park in Utah. This was with a Tombow marker. If you guys ever use a Tombow marker, they're water soluble. So I was just playing around with those to see what kind of effect I could get. And that's in Colorado. Here's another one with a different fountain pen that was also water-soluble ink. And this is a third one. This is the Pentel Sign Pen. You can buy them anywhere. They're very cheap, but they were really good to draw with. And this was with a dip pen. This was a very fancy one in Caprock Canyon State Park in Texas. I love using dip pen. I'm so glad that Patrick pulled one out the other day and reminded me about that. Thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
Now we're back. What?
Oh, I said
Now
yes.
we're back.
They are fun.
Yeah, they're fun. Now we're back in Florida. You can see some of these sketches have very old dates on them. This one's several years old. This was a micron and some watercolor. This is Hang Island in watercolor. There's the one I already showed you in Malibu. This is just a loose interpretation. There was a hurricane coming. I stood on a balcony right on the beach and watched these birds just kind of get tossed around the sky. The waves were going crazy, and I just wanted to get that feeling. And here's kind of a botanical, not botanical, what do you call it whenever you're studying animals? A bird study. Some people walking on the beach. And that's fun to watch people walk past you. If you're far enough away, you can draw them every other time they take a step, they're in the same position. So you don't have to go, oh, they're going by so fast. You can observe them stepping and get the right position.
Oh,
Just,
cool.
yeah, because every other step, they do the same thing. This one I like because this is my nephew. He was playing on a Little League team. But I liked it because I put this little chain link fence. He was, of course, playing behind a fence. And this is his name. And he was a pitcher and a batter in this game. And his team was the Azalea Indians. He was about 8 or 9 years old. This is a church in Savannah. They had some music there. Yep, this is the same church. And this is a really old one. I don't even know if this place exists anymore in St. Augustine. Saltwater Cowboys, it's on the marsh.
Yeah.
I parked out there one time and just painted that. It was so much fun to paint. So this one's really old. It's from 2005.
Still there.
It's still there?
Yep.
Cool. Good to know. Here's one that's not there.
Yeah.
That one's gone. That's in St. Augustine too. This is just from sitting in a restaurant, waiting for my daughter to show up and just drawing what was on the table. Looks like it's smeared a little bit. I must have dropped some wine on it. This is another Tombow marker, and this is from Zion National Park, the tops of the ridges. So much fun to draw from This is from a cruise ship. This is from the Bahamas. So you get all those really cool, bright colors that feel so tropical. And a slideshow. Click to exit. I think that's it, folks. Now I have to stop sharing the screen.
That was
Okay.
great, Jamie.
That was good.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
That was wonderful, Jamie.
Oh, good.
Thank you. That was
Thank
Well, that's so
great.
many.
Yeah.
You're
It was
welcome.
very good.
Every page of my sketchbook is not a gem, believe me. I just showed you the good stuff. I've got some crappy pages too.
Do you
Okay.
have several
So-
journals at one time going?
Yeah, I usually do.
Do you? Okay,
'Cause I've
you
got
don't stick
in
with
my
one.
bag
Okay,
and one.
okay,
You know, I try to, or sometimes I say, okay, this one's going to be just for this subject, but it doesn't ever turn out that way. They all turn out to be just like what I did that year, from one place to
Yeah.
another.
that's good to hear. Do you use much fountain pen? Or is it
Do I
just
use
dip
what?
pen and fountain
Oh
pen?
no, I don't use the
You
dip
don't
pen
use
very
it?
much
Okay.
because it's labor intensive.
Yeah,
When I have a lot of time, I can do that. The last time I went out with the plein air sketchers, just last weekend, I forgot my paintbrushes. So I felt so stupid, but I did have a dip pen, so I did my
Okay.
sketch with ink.
do
and a
you
dip.
do you use the fountain pen much either? Or?
You know what? I tried to use the fountain pens, and I just can't. I can't feel comfortable with them for some reason. I tried
Yeah.
because a lot of people use them.
Well, that brings me a lot of comfort. I tried too. I just can't get it.
And I keep buying different ones,
Mhm.
and usually I just end up writing with them,
Yeah.
instead of drawing with them. But I tried
Okay.
for a while. Because usually I get all my art supplies paid for by SCAD. When I go up to SCAD,
Okay.
I get, a lump of money so
Yeah.
that I can buy art supplies. And, for demo purposes, so I buy what I like and what I want to experiment with. So I've had a lot of fancy pens, but I just don't like them enough to use them.
Do you use watercolor pencil much, or for any particular
You
purpose?
know what? I did for a long time use a lot of watercolor pencils, and I've got some really nice ones. But for me, watercolor itself works better
Okay.
than watercolor pencils. Watercolor pencils are easier to control because it's like drawing instead of painting. But the colors are not as rich as if you just use watercolor. So, and I like gouache too, but I don't have a lot of experience with it. I've tried to incorporate that sometimes into my drawings. When I teach design, they have to use gouache. So I use that when I'm teaching, but normally not when I'm working. So
Okay.
basically what I use, and I'll show you what I use the watercolor pencil, and I use this watercolor pencil. Can you guys see this? To sketch with. Any pencil that has something that looks like a paintbrush on it, that means that ink or whatever it is water soluble, right? So if you see that, you know that you can draw with this, and then when you put water on it, it dissolves. So I usually start off with a watercolor pencil to draw with, and just to get the basic shapes, and then I use micron pens usually, different sizes of micron pens. So I've got everything from a 5 to a 0.005. So the 5 would be the biggest nib. The 005 is the skinniest, like a little spidery looking line. It's kind of fun to play with. So I've got all of that. And then, let's see, I'm trying to see if you guys can see my desk here. Can you guys see it? Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So I
Perfect.
just wanted to show you my little teeny weeny watercolor set. Okay, so this is my watercolor set. It's a Winsor Newton. It's got oh, here it is. I'll do the whole unveil. Okay, so it looks like this. This is a water cup, and it opens up, and you've got 1, 2, 3 palettes. This is a water bottle here, or you can use the side for a palette. So you can bring your own water. empty it into the cup, which you can actually put on here like this so that you can just hold the whole thing and paint. It's got a sponge that came with really nice watercolors. These are really good quality watercolors. And this little setup isn't cheap, but you can buy similar setups with nice watercolors in them and you don't have to pay an arm and a leg. The only thing I don't like about this watercolor set is this tiny little brush. I'm not crazy about this brush, and I don't use it unless I have to, unless I forgot all my brushes. So anyway, I love this, and I've got this other set that I've been using for 100 years, which looks really messy and terrible, but some of my favorite colors are in it. So that's what I use. I use usually a flat brush is all I need. Yeah, a flat brush. And markers and watercolor. So.
You put your own paint colors in there?
Yeah, I do. Whenever I have some paint colors that I really, really love. And when I have a space, you can see this has been squirted in here. This one has this one right here. This is Payne's Gray. I love Payne's Gray. I can't seem to paint without that. And so some of these have been filled by me and bought, like this one was bought in Italy. I bought something called Dragon's Blood, so I put that one in my palette here. So anyway, I tend to use the same colors all the time. Boring like that. So, are you guys going to draw with me?
Yeah.
Are you just going to watch me, or what are we doing? Okay, so I'll just draw and paint and talk, and you guys can ask me questions because I'm used to that. Okay, if I'm
That's good.
drawing and painting and just talking and don't hear any feedback, I think everybody left or went to sleep or something.
Not a chance, Jamie. No way.
Okay, well, sometimes, you know, I teach a lot of kids, so they're not as interested as you guys. They're like, oh, okay. It takes a lot of convincing for them. Okay, so I've got this photograph that I took in Italy. This is from where'd it go? It went away. Here it goes. Okay, so this is a display outside a shoe shop in Montepulciano, which is in Umbria or Tuscany, one of those. And the shoes inside the shop were fantastic. The Italian shoes, I can't even believe them. They're so amazing. But they won't let you take pictures of these amazing shoes. So I went outside and took pictures of those planters. They're paper mache shoes that they put real laces in, and then they put plants. So I thought that was really cute. So we're going to go to Italy today and attempt to paint these shoes. Okay, so I've got my water-soluble blue here, and I'm just going to kind of rough out where these, I kind of started on it already because I wanted to not look like a total amateur. Okay, so I'm trying to make this so that you guys can see the lines. Can you see these outlines?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically this is just a rough sketch of the shape of the shoe, how long I want it to be. I wanted to make sure that these shoes, I'm not going to do all of the shoes. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shoes here. I'm going to do 2 of them so I can do them bigger. So that's one thing you can do. You can edit, right? You can choose your composition. You can move things around. You're the artist. You get to choose. So I'm going to put one shoe behind another. We're going to make sure they take up most of the space. I always say use at least 80% of your paper plane, your picture plane. Then we're going to put this shelf that they're sitting on, make sure that the edge of the shelf is parallel with the side of the shoe. Okay, so let's see, I got to look at my reference a little bit. We've got a cactus living here. Now these lines are going to change. I can move them around if I decide that, oh, hey, I did that one wrong. The lines can move, they can change completely. Okay, so So there's a cactus. This one back here has something that looks like an aloe or some other kind of plant in it. So this is just, this will all change probably. That thing will change. Now let's see. What's interesting about these shoes are the laces, the way the laces are really thick and make these interesting loops. And they kind of give movement to this whole drawing, the way that the laces lay and droop and fall over each other. So I'm emphasizing that. Anything I like, I can make it bigger, brighter, more exciting. And anything I don't like, hey, I can leave it out. So my drawings end up looking like I wish the world looked, not the way it really does. But that's the fun of being a creative person, is you can change your world. So, okay. So that looks like they're taking up a lot of space. If you look really closely at these shoes, you can see that they're made of paper mache and they're kind of patchy. You can see the layers of the paper. And for me, that's pretty interesting, and I'm going to emphasize that. But first, I'm going to have to make sure that I can see the shoes. Now, when I work on something like this, I will draw it just loosely like this. And then, I don't know if that needs to be there or not. And then I'll use a marker, a fine liner. These are Micron pens, my favorite. They run out of ink really fast, but what are you going to do? You just keep buying them. And then I add paint on this. The reason I use the Micron is because it doesn't run. Once your Micron is on there, just a couple of seconds and it's dry, and the watercolor is not going to disturb it. So I use the markers, and then I'll use the paint, and then I'll go back and add some details. So I kind of work back and forth, markers, paint, until I'm happy with what I've got, or just out of time, or whatever. Now I've got to find my paintbrush. Let's see. So I think I'll start by just adding some color on these, on the cactus. I'm really guilty of not ever mixing enough paint. I think I'm just stingy or something. So this is looking really green to me. So I'm going to add a little red to it just to knock it back color-wise so it doesn't stick out like that. Greens are tough, aren't they?
Mhm.
To make a green that looks like it really exists in the world,
Yeah.
it's kind of tricky. So I'm not being really super careful here. I'm just going to put some tint. I think I'm working on the wrong side of this paper. I am. I'm working on the wrong side of watercolor paper, folks. We'll see how that works. It's kind of soaking in where it should be sitting up. Oh well. So that's, since it's absorbent paper, it's gonna soak in and dry real fast, so that's good. It'll probably still be worth looking at. I'm gonna use my, ugh, this is not taking the paint very well, but I'll do the best I can. Just use the side of your brush to make it nice and swoopy. Yeah. Let's see how that looks. Okay. All right, now the pots, kind of terracotta color. Let's get this one. Don't be afraid to use a lot of color. You can always make up for it later. If you use too much, you can always like connect all of your areas with your line, and that's what's going to be holding your whole picture together is your line. Okay, so I'm just going to make up stuff as far as the colors on these shoes go. Because they're not all that colorful really, but you can look at those and see that the colors that they're made up of. Right? So back here it can be brown. Okay. So I'm trying to vary the values. Put some of this in the dark, some of it in the light. Values is more important than almost anything in a painting. The different values, if you can use different values, people will be able to see the different areas of what you're painting. It's very valuable to use values. Okay. So this is practically dry, so I'm going to go in there. I'm going to find a medium size here, maybe a 3. I want to use big enough so that you guys can see it. Let's see if this one will work. Just put my hand down in it. Don't put your hand in the wet paint. Do you guys use watercolor?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You bet.
Never.
No, it's so, you know, a lot of people are intimidated by watercolor. Very intimidated. Because it's hard to undo. It's not forgiving. Like oil paint, you can just go over it. Or acrylic, just go over it. But watercolor, usually there's no erasing that. So I'm not being super literal on the shapes of these shoes. And we just have one run out of ink. This one will work. I just want to make sure they look like shoes. They don't have to look like the shoes that are in the drawing or in the photograph. I'll try this one. Oh, my pens are dried up. How did this happen? I got a drawer full. I can go get more. Okay. This is going to turn out to be kind of like a cartoon. But all my stuff looks like that. Okay, I have to go find some pens that work. But never fear. These have never been opened yet. Told you they ran out of ink fast. Like, while you're using that. Okay. Okay, this ought to work. So we're putting the pot in the shoe. That's probably the trickiest part of this drawing, making sure the pot goes into the shoe. Shoes are fun to draw, and they're always around. They're so unusually shaped, so different from each other that it's a good exercise to draw shoes. And usually that's one of the assignments that I give my students at SCAD. They have to draw a lot of shoes. You guys drawing?
Yes?
Good.
Yes.
Yay. Good to know. It doesn't really matter if you color in lines. It's kind of fun to have something that doesn't just exactly fit in the space that you made for it. So it makes it look like you had some fun doing it.
Hey, Jamie, this is Chris. Do you normally put your ink lines in after you watercolor, or do you sometimes do an ink sketch and then fill in with color?
Yeah, I do it any way that I feel like I want to do it at that moment. I just kind of go back and forth. Usually I'll put some color on, just like I did today, and then start drawing. Because sometimes the color will suggest something to you, some place that you should put a line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm using a really fat one so you guys can see it. Okay, so we've got Okay, so now this ink is dry enough, I can still paint on top of it. I can do some painting on top of it and it won't move, which is great. This is frustrating to me because this is the wrong side of this paper, and I didn't realize it until I started painting. So these colors would be much brighter, more vibrant, if I were using the correct side of the watercolor paper. So now you can go in and add some details like this, a little bit of shading. I'm going to have to try to really concentrate this color so that it shows up. I noticed a lace I forgot. Where? There. I'm going to try to put these patchy areas on these shoes that look like where they stuck the paper mache down. So if you use these lines that go across the shoe and follow the form of the shoe, it helps you see that the shoe is in 3 dimensions and not flat. So those are the cross contour lines that show how the shoe is actually shaped. And that's going to help us not only add some interest to the shoes, but make them 3-dimensional as well. I have to make these look like cactuses somehow. My own interpretation of the, how they're formed. You have to look how the light hits things, right? That helps too. Where the light hits, where the color gets lighter and darker is important to note when you're painting. And we can give this a little bit of texture as well on the shoelace just by using the brush. Usually these paintings don't look like much for a while, because as you keep adding layers of color, of details, of ink, then it gets more and more interesting. But it's fun to get there from here. So quiet. You guys doing all right? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Okay, so I wasn't present for the last meeting. I missed it. but Hannah sent me the video. And so I watched it and I noticed that Marek, is that his name?
Yes.
Yes. He was so good at talking the whole time he was working. I was like, oh, that's interesting that he keeps talking, but I keep getting lost in my painting. So that's why if you need to know something, you need to ask. Ooh, this is starting to look like a greeting card, isn't it? Don't like the way this paper is taking this watercolor. I'm doing the best I can.
What kind of paper do you use, Jamie?
Well, this is aquarelle hot pressed,
Yeah.
which I love.
Okay.
But the back of it doesn't work very well. So if you use it, make sure you're using the correct side. I thought I was because I pulled it off the, well, I guess I was wrong. Oh well. Yep. I want the shoe in the back to go back. So I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So it'll sit behind the shoe in the front. So we need to make a distinction between the two for sure. Make the one in the back a little bit smaller and also have it a distinct enough value change. And watercolor is always fun if you leave some white. Those of you who know about watercolor know about the value of leaving whites to help your painting kind of sparkle and shine. So we're going to leave whites where the light hits the top of the shoes. We'll just leave it white. Maybe put some texture in there with the pen. But we don't need color everywhere.
I noticed this, Laura. Hey there, Jamie. I noticed that with Marek also from the last meeting. He was a master at leaving white. All of his paintings look like they had little sparkles and shine. He really, really is a master of that technique.
Yeah, his were really fascinating because they were just black and white and gray.
Yeah.
And that looked like so fun and so easy to do. And I try that sometimes and then I end up adding color to it. That's just who I am, I guess.
It's always a good exercise, in value study like that to help us. It's the watercolor, the color is fun, but the value is the scaffolding, right?
The value is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Color is fun, but you can't just randomly apply color.
Sure.
I'm randomly applying color and it looks
Well, think about the darks and the lights while you're doing it.
okay.
Yeah, one time when I was in class, I don't know which professor it was telling me the way that they judge paintings when they have to do a juried show is that they'll take all the paintings and they'll put them across the room, line them up across the room, and pick out the ones with the most distinct values as the ones that are going to stay in the show. That's the first criteria is the values. And it really is more important than anything because it helps you see what it is you're looking at. If there's no value change, you can't see the details. Everything's just one thing, gray or too light or all too dark. It's really hard to pick out what it is you're even seeing. So when you use your colors and your lines, you can emphasize whatever it is you want to emphasize. You can create structure where there isn't any, just by where you put a line. You can use cross-contour lines to show shapes and volume and shadow, of course. So that's, you can use hatching. I don't use a lot of hatching, but it comes in handy sometimes. I think the most fun are the laces. Holes. You can make holes where there weren't any. Ooh, these are fun. Now, the edge of this shoe needs some definition right here because it just kind of fades away. I'm going to have to add a little bit of line in there just so we can see it against the other one. So you can look at your reference drawing or reference photo if you want, or you can just kind of wing it and make the shoes however you want to make them. I just faded away. Okay. The more you look at the photo, the more you notice really interesting things. Like the eye holes for the laces that don't have laces in them. What else can I do? Ooh, that was fun. Put some yellow on there. So this is the side that's sitting in the sun. So we'll go ahead and put the yellow there. Brighten it up a little bit. You guys using watercolors or are you just drawing?
I'm just drawing.
I can't see, so I can't see what you're doing. But you'll show me later, right?
Maybe.
Yeah? Maybe? Did you say maybe?
Maybe.
Mine are a mess.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to add these.
like that little square brush. I always, I don't use a square brush. I like that.
Square brushes are good for everything. Because
Yeah.
you can make a line with them if you just turn it on its side.
Mhm.
I usually just use a square brush.
That's nice.
The only way these are going to look better is if I put some more details on them. Oh, now I'm starting to like them a little more. Ah, that's better.
Mine are too wet to do anything.
What's great about drawing all the time is that you know what things look like. You have a memory that's stored up in your brain of all the images you've looked at, especially if you've drawn them. You sort of know how to draw a shoe without having to look at a shoe or a hand or a dog or whatever it is you're trying to draw. You have a stored up visual memory of those things. And the older I get, of course, the more I remember, the more I see. So I've just got like a mother load of images in my mind, which helps me when I'm drawing something like this.
I've run out of storage.
You're out of storage.
True.
So now that I've started layering on some of this ink, I'm starting to like this drawing a lot more. Even though it's on the wrong side of the paper, it's starting to look okay because the details really make it into something, right? A specific pair of shoes, not just generic shoes. Details do that. So when in doubt, just add a bunch of lines.
I like that. That's great.
Oh, yuck.
Did I hear somebody say yuck?
Yeah, just I did a drawing. I'm going over and kind of outlining with my ink, and I just looked at my hand, and I've got pencil just kind of shadow everywhere. I usually just do them in pencil.
I like these ink lines because you can use more pressure or less pressure and get a varied line. And I
Yeah.
think what makes the drawing interesting is if the lines are not all the same width and the same darkness. So try and make your line not all the same pressure and see what you can do with that. That's kind of fun to play around with. Even if you have to hold your pen at the very end like this so that you don't have a lot of control. If you grab it like this, you've got almost too much control. If you grab it like this, you can get a much looser line, and it's kind of fun to play around with that. So I think I'll do that for these shoes and see what kind of crazy form I can make on the sides here. As the more I add these lines, the more I like these shoes. They're starting to look like what they are. You can put some texture in the heels, pretend they're made of cork. The other thing about drawing a lot is that when you feel confident, your line is going to be so much more fun to look at and not tense and tight. I think an exciting line makes a good drawing, even if the drawing doesn't look like what it's supposed to look like. I think I'll put some shadow underneath the shoe so it sits on the table. I want to make sure these shoes don't float away, so we got to ground them somehow. Put that shadow there that they're casting, and then you know that they're sitting on a surface. So my image keeps disappearing off my iPad. I have to keep opening it up to look back at this image. It won't stay. So I'm basically just making it up. So I decided the shoes in the back are going to be striped. So if you make the stripes follow the contour of the shoe, then we have form as well, along with the stripes.
Nice.
They're like clown shoes. I was Googling this because I wanted to figure out what shoe store this was in front of. And so I Googled Montepulciano shoe store planters. And there are millions of images of this on the internet because people are always taking pictures of this particular row of shoes. But none of them said what shoe store it was. So I still don't know.
Fun. I love what you do.
I hear drawing happening. There's another little painting that I did of this same thing
Oh, cool.
on a smaller scale. I'm looking at that for reference.
Funny when you get finished and you look at it and you're like, okay, I see what all was wrong. They're definitely not the same shoes.
That's okay. No one will ever know.
They were fun shoes. I like it. Mine is too wet to run line work on. You do all the line work first and then put the watercolor on.
It's funny, in the email, I really thought that this was from your garden, Lisa. I thought, you know, she's got her garden out there. How cute. She took these old shoes.
Well, that's a good idea, Lisa. Now all you got to do is make paper mache shoes.
Oh, gosh. Time for that.
That's what you need
Let's
another
put that
project.
on my list of things to do.
Yeah, you need to make paper mache shoes.
This is what I've been doing. Can you see it? Oh, wrong thing. Wait a minute. Where'd it go? Oh, God.
Ooh, now I'm having fun. You layer your watercolor over each other and make it brighter. Add some detail that way.
This worked pretty dry because mine is too wet to add ink on top.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, maybe it's a type of paper.
If that's possible. This particular paper, since I'm working on the wrong side, it's soaking it up really fast, which I guess is working to my advantage.
Line work, but I can't because it's too wet.
Oh, boy. I'm gonna let mine dry for a minute. Sometimes I work with a hairdryer beside me, but not usually when I'm outdoors.
Oh, Jamie, it's 9:50. So we should start.
9:50?
Up.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Time flies when you're having fun.
time flies. It does.
Okay. Well, maybe we should see what we've done here.
That sounds good. I love what you've done. Even got to the end of the board on there. That's great.
Are we done, folks?
Great.
Pretty much.
Hands up.
Everybody's still here?
Yep.
Yep.
You ready to see what everybody's done?
That's awesome, Jamie. Really, that's so sweet. Really
It looks
sweet.
like a greeting. It looks like a greeting card.
I love it.
Great. It's great.
I like this one better.
I don't know. I really like that one.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
All
Okay. So,
right, let's see what you did.
It's
I want to
awesome.
see everybody's.
You put everybody up.
mhm. Now, who will show their sketch?
Okay. I'll have to do it.
Oh, look at that. That's so cool.
Wow.
You did good, Lisa.
Nice.
That's really great.
You sketched the three shoes.
That-
Very nice.
That's nice, yeah.
It was fun.
Cool.
Who else
I
is
took
ready?
4 pages of notes from Jamie while I watched. So here's my sketch.
Oh, wow.
That's an opportunity I was not going to pass up. Thank you, Jamie. It's awesome.
All those little gems of wisdom, right?
Well, my dream has always been SCAD, and to have you as a teacher, I hope the students realize how lucky they are.
I hope they do too.
Yeah, I'll tell them.
Great.
These are great.
Okay, so Connie was showing her sketch. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Quite
Oh, I love
quite
these
wonk-
shoes. I love
quite
these ones.
wonky.
They're great.
That's wonderful.
Those are cool.
Wonderful. Okay. Who else?
I'll show my, I've never done this before, so
Mine won't, here you go.
show mine. And I don't have any watercolor, but I have the.
Oh, those are great.
Very nice.
Very
Really
good.
good.
Road shoes.
Yeah.
Good job.
Oh, I
I like just a drawing. That's
Yeah.
very nice.
Yes.
Oh,
Wonderful.
Who else?
Try mine again. I don't know if it's going to work with the background there.
oh, look at that.
nice.
Oh,
That's
I didn't-
Alex.
yeah, that's hard with
Ink
the background.
watercolor.
Who's that?
That's cool, Alice.
Yay, I just did what I do. I kind of dug into it. I'm not so good at getting the overall
That a lot of pencil, charcoal.
pencil.
Okay. Very nice.
Nice.
Looks
I like the
great.
shadowing.
Love that, yeah.
Good job.
That's great.
Love it.
Mm,
Okay.
Who else? Phyllis?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
Very nice.
Ooh, look at that. That's great, Phyllis. I love those hatching lines. Those are cool.
yeah.
I'm trying to learn to do hash marks. I don't draw that way, so I really don't know what I'm doing. I just kind of look at what y'all do and think, okay, maybe this or
But
that.
it really worked.
Great.
It worked well. It's very effective.
Oh, thank you.
Who else is ready?
Patrick.
Anybody else?
Up there.
Patrick, what you got?
Wow.
Oh my
Ooh,
goodness.
look at that.
You show off. That's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. Gorgeous.
What are you using?
I didn't have any watercolor, so I got two dip ink or two ink pens and a gray blender,
Cool.
a brown and a purple.
Oh,
Very nice. Gosh.
All right, we're all going home now, Patrick.
Chris,
Thanks a
where-
lot.
what about Chris? What did he do?
Come on, Chris.
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's see what you did, Chris.
I'm unmuting. Let's see. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I never go with shoes. So I took a trip to France and I drew the Louvre. I thought you said Louvre, but you actually said shoes. So I drew the Louvre.
Okay.
No, but Jamie, I love your subject and really teaching us to really be inspired by whatever's around you. That's pretty encouraging in that regard. So
Yeah.
that's what urban
Yes.
sketching is all about.
Yes. I'll show mine.
Yes, I see yours, Hannah. All right.
Like
Very
the
nice.
Love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the
very
soft.
colorful. Nice and colorful.
Yes. Thank you. Okay. Am I missing someone,
All right.
or everyone is? Yes.
Abby.
Mhm.
All right.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Very
Very
good.
nice.
Oh, look at that. That's cool.
And is that
These
watercolor
are all
or
so
is?
different.
What is it? Oh, you're muted. What is it?
Okay.
Watercolor? Oh, great.
Yes. Thank you.
Aren't these also different?
Yes. So, am I missing someone, or if not,
Especially Chris's.
we can take a picture of the.
Okay.
Want to put us all up?
Yes. Everyone, or grab any other sketch you have. Is everyone ready? I'm waiting for some people.
I'll put my Louvre up.
Okay, one, 2, 3. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Amy, this was good. This was a workout, but it was very good.
Very good. I really like how many different things you sketch and how you group things on your sketch page, and how you collage things. I never think to do that because I'm pretty new at this, and I've just learned so much today. I learned a lot.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, there's so many possibilities.
So many.
The great thing about drawing is that you'll always get better at it, and you'll always have new ideas. So you can just keep on doing it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks everybody for coming.
Thanks, Jamie. That's really great.
It
Thanks,
was.
Lisa.
Thanks for letting me
Thanks,
join.
everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. Great,
Yeah.
great work, everybody.
Very nice.
See you in real life.
Thanks for
sometime.
letting me join.
Oh, absolutely.
First.
Thank you for
Take
arranging
care.
that. Thanks, everybody.
Right.
Bye.
Good night.
Great to see you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Yeah.
Bye.
Good
See you in real
night.
life sometime soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.